Babies who were born on the literal perfect day. Back in 2019, a baby girl was born on July 11th, making the date 7/11. Well, the baby was also born at 7:11 p.m. and the baby also weighed 7 pounds and 11 ounces. From this, the convenience store 7-Eleven saw this and gave the baby $7,111, making this baby the most 7-Eleven baby in history. Next, in 2022, this baby girl was born at one of the craziest times possible because she was born on February 22nd, 2022, which is 2/22/2022. But she was also born at 2:22 a.m. and she weighed 7 pounds and 10 ounces, which makes her a total 122 total ounces. And I can't forget that she was born in room number 2 of the hospital. This is absolutely wild.
We have some crazy things going on in the world right now. A bride was late to her own wedding after an officer pulled her over for going 105 in a 45. A bus driver with over 30 years on the job lost his $84,000 pension after he was caught stealing $7. Thanks to appearances in music videos and commercials, technically Taylor Swift's cat Olivia has a higher net worth than her boyfriend Travis Kelce. An Air India crew member downgraded a passenger from first class and then used that seat to sleep. A 19-year-old man was sent to prison for 8 months after making a bomb threat to a cruise that his girlfriend was on because he admitted he was annoyed that he had to take care of her pets. Meteorologists could not use damage to determine the strength of a recent tornado that went through Michigan because the Amish communities that this tornado mostly affected repaired their homes too quickly. After a man saved for 10 years to buy his dream Ferrari, it went up in flames less than an hour after it was delivered.
This is a bittersweet case. On February 1986, 29-year-old Detective Stephanie Lazarus broke into her ex-boyfriend's house and murdered his wife Sherry Rasmussen in a fit of rage and jealousy. Stephanie successfully got away with murder for 23 years due to connections with the Los Angeles Police Department. Despite there being evidence against her, she was barely questioned. The crime was initially deemed to be a robbery gone wrong, but Sherry's family was convinced that Stephanie was involved since she was jealous that Sherry and John were happily married. When John returned home from work that evening, Sherry was found shot multiple times in the chest. Reports show that Stephanie had threatened Sherry at her workplace stating, "If I can't have John, then nobody else will." In the meantime, Stephanie went on to start her own private investigation firm and the case went cold. But 23 years later, on February 2009, a cold case detective squad decided to reinvestigate the case, and that's when they discovered that DNA was obtained from a bite mark on Sherry's body. And of course, that bite mark was a perfect match to Stephanie Lazarus. On March 8, 2012, Stephanie was convicted and sentenced to 27 years to life in prison and will be eligible for parole in 2039.
2025 just got even crazier, part 4. Firstly, in Poland, 240 mines were accidentally sent to an IKEA, and apparently the mishap only came to light when the IKEA store called the military to ask when they were going to pick up these mines from their IKEA warehouse. From this, an army general was fired for losing these mines. Next, we all know about this TikTok ban that is happening. Well, it's kind of backfiring, because thousands and thousands of TikTok users are switching to the Chinese app RedNote, and from this, Duolingo has seen a 216% spike in users in the US learning Mandarin. Finally, stealing has got so bad in some areas, some stores are starting to literally lock up everything, like regular items like chips. So now, you literally have to get an employee just to get a chip bag.
These maps are going to change the way you see the world. This is how much income you're gonna need to join the top 1% in every US state. California makes it easy. It's just 1 million solid. Yeah, easy. So it looks like the highest is actually in Connecticut with 1.2 million. That's fascinating, actually. The lowest is in West Virginia. You only need $420,000 a year to be in the top 1%. Yeah, I know I say only, it's a lot of money, but also relatively, it's cool. But yeah, we're all doomed, so it doesn't matter. This is just a map of the Midwest. Yeah, It's definitely in the west and in the middle because it's the Midwest. This was the first transcontinental railroad that was completed in 1869. You now could cross the country within a week instead of multiple months. That was dangerous. Interesting that there was an Oregon Trail and a California Trail. So this map shows that the entire area of Manhattan is smaller than the Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. This map divides the world into 4 equal quadrants and shows that the Northeast has almost 3 out of 4 people on Earth. It says 13% in the Northwest, but only 5% of that is in the United States, which is the same as the 5% in the Southwest. 86% of all humans live in the top side of this quadrant.
Let's see if you have trypophobia. I'm going to show you 5 photos. If you feel too uncomfortable to make it to the 5th photo, then you could have trypophobia. So let's go. Number 1. And how about this? Feeling uncomfortable yet? Nearly there. Last one. So let me know whether or not you have trypophobia in the comments down below.
He performed plastic surgery on himself after murdering his teacher. In 2006, 22-year-old British teacher Lindsay Hawker moved to Tokyo to teach English at Chiba University. A year later, 28-year-old student Tetsuya Ichihashi asked Lindsay if he could receive private lessons from her. Lindsay agreed, and they met at a coffee shop a few days later for their first session. At the end of the session, Tetsuya told Lindsay he forgot his money at home and asked her to go back to his place to pick it up and pay her. So that's exactly what they did, and unfortunately, Lindsay never made it out of Tetsuya's apartment. Lindsay was reported missing the next day, so police went to Tetsuya's apartment and saw him escape by foot. When police entered Tetsuya's balcony, they found Lindsay's deceased body in a bath full of sand. Tetsuya then went into hiding for 2 years and a half, and he went to extreme measures to avoid authorities, such as physically changing his appearance himself. This included cutting off the moles from his face with a knife, trimming his lips to make them thinner, and reshaping his nose. All these changes allowed Tetsuya to be undetected for years, but his attempt to alter his appearance even more led to his arrest when a cosmetic doctor became suspicious about his scars and reported him to police. At Tetsuya's trial, he confessed to everything and was sentenced to life in prison.
This is the scary story about the park. There was a girl named Anna who was walking around a park one day when she saw a man carrying a woman, and he also had a kid right next to him. Anna thought it was odd that a man was carrying a full-grown woman around the park, so she went up to him and asked if everything was okay. The man said that it was his wife, and that she was sick and tired, but she was fine. Anna then said, "I hope she feels better," and then walked away. Anna then sat down on a bench nearby, and a couple minutes later, the man's child came running over to her and said, "Mommy's dead. Daddy killed Mommy. He's been carrying her dead body around the park all day." Anna sat there in shock as the man came over and got his kid, with his dead wife still slung over his shoulders.
The bodies of 9-year-old Peyton Decker, 8-year-old Evelyn Decker, and 5-year-old Olivia Decker were found deceased near Washington campground after they were reported missing by their mom. The girls left home for a planned visitation with their father on May 30th. Their bodies were found on June 2nd. Their cause of death has been ruled a suffocation. The manner of death has been ruled a homicide. Their father, 32-year-old Travis Decker, is a primary suspect, and he is currently on the run as we speak. On Friday, May 30th, the girl's mother called for help around 9:45 p.m. She said her girls were at their planned visit with their father, but he failed to return the girls on time, and she got worried and she needed help. The case is ongoing. There's a manhunt currently out for Travis Decker, the father. I'm not a lawyer. No one has been arrested yet. All this information is information that I found on the internet, and if I get anything wrong, please comment in the comments and we can figure it out together. Also, please keep in mind, please, this is a real case. People are mourning the deaths of these poor girls and they're hurt, so if you don't have anything nice to say, do not say anything at all. We know from the mother.
Breaking news, when Brian Kohberger was arrested, he asked one of the arresting officers if he wanted to go get coffee at another time. In these documents, Ann Taylor is trying to prove that Brian Kohberger does not have the ability to understand the magnitude of what he did. As an example of that, she states the following. She said, by way of example, when he was arrested at home with a full SWAT team, doors broken, and parents were zip-tied, he made small talk with the detective in the back of the police car on the ride to the police station. He asked the officer about his education and suggested that they get coffee at a later date. She said he did not perceive the profound seriousness of what was going on and he did not have perception of what was happening. She said they now have experts to analyze his issues. In addition, here is an up-close image of the drawing that Dylan provided of the mask she saw Bryan Kohberger wearing the night she ran into him in the home. Furthermore, the April 9th hearing has been changed. You will no longer be able to locate.
This is the most terrifying space photo ever. This is a real photo of astronaut Bruce McCandless. He is floating around 100 meters away from the space shuttle, and he's not wearing any tether connection or harness, meaning he could easily float away into the abyss of space. But why did he do such a dangerous thing? Well, in 1984, he was testing a space jetpack. So he stepped out of the Challenger space shuttle and using the jetpack flew away from the shuttle, flying alone into the dark abyss of space. Bruce was later asked about his experience. He said, "The thing that disturbed me most was as I floated away from the shuttle, I felt extremely cold." He also said the silence of being alone was very scary. In this photo, he literally is the loneliest person in the universe.
Okay, so that's just a puppet, but you know it's not? Meet the Tibetan fox. The fox nature designed strictly for memory. The Lord makes no mistakes, but sometimes he uses his left hand. That's how you get a fox straight out of Courage the Cowardly Dog. We're not entirely sure why it looks like amateur taxidermy, but some say it's a character development that comes with living on the very roof of the world. Apparently that's the peak physique when your address is up to 5,000 meters or 16,000 feet up in the air. The highest point in the US, not in Alaska, is just under 15,000. The result is an AI-generated pika predator. Pika basically being the popcorn chicken of rabbits. And the main thing on this Temu Fox's grocery list. Sometimes this Uncanny Valley Vulpes goes on a two-man with bears, where the bears dig the prey up and the funny-in-the-face fox runs them down. All while having the expression of immigrant parents to a firstborn, terminally disappointed and remarkably unimpressed. I still love you, Mom. Except when they're about to murk a marmot. That's enough to make him hit the Heisman. And despite the free-handed by Faith Fox proving that 5-year-old me can draw, they actually look pretty normal as pups. And the way you see them might change when you see how little they are next to us. Because when you live in God's snowed-in Tibetan attic with the windows open, it's best to be small. In fact, the best theory is that protection from the constant wind is why they look like that. Something about preserving moisture in the eyes. But it also means you can get side-eyed looking dead in this fur emoji's face, the more you know.
I don't know if I can visit Mexico.
Why?
Bro, they have the scariest urban legends.
For real?
Yeah, they got La Chuza, which is a shape-shifting witch that looks like an owl and is 7 feet tall with the face of a woman. And you're not supposed to go outside if you hear whistling in your window.
What else?
Oh, and La Llorona. She usually stays near bodies of water. She wears a white gown, long hair, and she's always crying for her children that she actually drowned. So you're next if you see her while driving on the side of the road.
Oh my God.
There's like this abandoned Disney park in Veracruz, Mexico.
What about it?
It has a statue that moves at night. There was 2 people exploring the abandoned park and caught it on video. Fam, you gotta check this out.
No, aguanta, deja que mi cámara enfoque bien, deja que mi cámara enfoque bien. Deja que mi cámara enfoque bien, güey, eso no es el velador. No digas perras mamadas, no digas mamadas. Güey, es que era el vestido también así, güey. Amarillo.
And it's static, frozen. I'm good on Mexico.
But they do have beautiful women.
You right, we might have to risk it.
This 14-foot tiger shark would vomit up something that would terrify visitors and force shocked aquarium owners to call the police. Bert Hobson was in trouble. As the owner of the Coogee Aquarium in Sydney, his business was struggling. His prayers were answered when he caught a monster 14-foot tiger shark weighing over a ton. Hopefully this would draw in the crowds. One sunny morning, the aquarium packed with visitors, the shark began to writhe and convulse. Eventually it vomited a rat, then a bird, then finally a whole human arm, complete with tattoos. Police attended and took fingerprints from the dismembered arm. The database matched them to a missing person, Jimmy Smith. Police interviewed one of Jimmy's friends. He cracked and revealed the full gruesome story of exactly what happened. Jimmy was involved in an insurance scam. He became greedy and tried to blackmail one of the other gang members before he went missing. The rest of his body was never found.
Tonight's premiere starts at 9. We're giving away a free gift bag on YouTube. I'm sorry for the delay. It's about an hour late, but this video is one you don't want to miss. We're hunting the spirit of one of the most notorious criminals in American history, cult leader Jim Jones. Yes, we actually spent the night at his childhood church investigating this property, and it's rumored to be a location haunted by demonic entities. The energy that we captured on camera inside of the building, the evidence, is astounding stuff. It's some of the clearest, most definitive, most disturbing paranormal activity that I've ever caught on camera. But the video premiere starts tonight at 9:00 p.m. Central Standard Time, so I will see all of you guys there. Make sure you leave a comment, like the video, and if you want to be entered to win the gift bag this week, comment Jim Jones on the video and like the video. Anyways, guys, I'll see you in a few hours, and yeah, this is not one you want to miss.
One of my biggest fears is finding something like this on my camera roll. The photo actually comes from Kelsey Surt back in 2013. She was a 17-year-old at the time, and she was browsing her camera roll when she found something that she didn't recognize. And that was this photo. It was a picture that she didn't take, but she could tell from the background that this was taken in her room. Police would review the info card on this photo where they see that it was taken at 1:39 p.m. That didn't make sense because Kelsey knew that for this date and this time she had her phone on her at school, which meant that whoever did take this photo of themselves, they also had the foresight to go in and change the date and the time that it was taken to throw off the investigation. Police also go in to try to brighten up the photo, right, digitally enhance it, but even with this version, they cannot successfully identify who this is. Are they wearing a mask? Is that a person? But whoever took the photo and why just remains an unknown.
Scariest urban legend from each state, part 4. Robert the doll from Florida. A young boy named Eugene was gifted this doll as a birthday present. Eugene had Robert sleep next to him every single night, until a random night where Eugene woke up and saw Robert sitting across the room from him. After that night, things changed. They noticed every night that they heard footsteps in the attic, and something running up and down the stairs. He was inhabited by some demonic spirit, even having the neighbors say that they saw Robert looking through the window of the attic every single night. Robert is currently in an extremely safe spirit box in the East Martello Museum in Key West, Florida. It's stated if you make eye
He was kidnapped and sacrificed by a cult that believed human sacrifice would protect their drug smuggling business. This is Mark Kilroy. He was a 21-year-old UT Austin student. Him and many other classmates were vacationing in South Padre. They found him and 14 other remains of other people. This cult was absolutely sick in the head. He was sodomized and tortured before they murdered him. He was then killed with a machete blow to the head. His brain was taken out and then boiled in a pot. After police discovered the remains, they arrested 4 cult members and hunted down the leader. The leader literally informed everyone that human sacrifice would protect their drug smuggling business, like I said, and it granted them immunity from law enforcement. I'm not sure where he got that from. When police had Costanzo cornered, he ordered a follower to shoot him and kill him. Like I said, most of the cult members were arrested, only 2 escaped and are still at large today. The media immediately labeled these people as Satanists. Although they didn't practice Satanism, it was something else. They also engaged in cannibalism with their victims. It was insane. Imagine being on spring break, getting kidnapped, tortured, and sacrificed by a cult and having your brain boiled in a pot. Not that you would be conscious or alive to know what's going on, but that is one of the most horrific ways to go out. What are your opinions on the story? Let me know.
His attackers used his head as a soccer ball. 15-year-old Michael Moss lived in Liverpool, had a happy childhood, and had an interest in mechanics. His mother stated that he wasn't very academic, but he could take a bike apart and put it back together, and he really loved motorbikes. When Michael was only 11 years old, his father passed away and his whole world was turned upside down. He was deeply affected by his father's death, and quickly at school, his behavior became disruptive and he was excluded. Because of that, Michael started attending a pupil referral unit that helped children with special educational needs before he was sent to a children's home to give his mother a break. It was there in 1999 when Michael would meet his future killers, his bullies, Alan, Mark, and Graham. Michael tried to keep a distance from these boys, but when he started dating Alan's ex-girlfriend, things would take a turn. Alan was not happy about this, and he would do anything to get revenge. Those 3 boys got together, drank alcohol, and watched Quentin Tarantino's Reservoir Dogs and got a plan into action. At 1 in the morning, Michael got a phone call from those 3 boys that they had a motorbike and they wanted him to look at it, and since he had a love for motorbikes, he was not going to say no, so unfortunately, he fatally took the bait. Michael had left the children's home where he was staying at and arrived at Moss Lane Park, and this is when he was ambushed. The 3 boys laid Michael on the floor and they each took turns kicking his head like a soccer ball. Michael's injuries were so severe that he was just unrecognizable. Michael did pass away from his injuries, and once his mother found out what had happened to him, she was heartbroken. As the investigation started, there was already evidence against the 3 boys, and Graham had actually turned himself in after he had told his mother what he had did as well as the other boys. July 26 of 2000, the 3 boys were found guilty. Alan and Mark were sentenced to 10 years in prison, while Graham was sentenced to 9 years.
If you hate clowns, this movie is really gonna get you. I just got out of seeing Clown in a Cornfield, and man, this movie was so much fun. Now, I've also read the book written by Adam Cesar, and I'm here to tell you it is an excellent and faithful adaptation of the novel. Quinn has just moved to Kettle Springs, and it's very obvious from the beginning something is not right. With an already growing major divide between the adults and the youths of the town Kettle Springs, you'd think that'd be bad enough, but now there is a clown in a cornfield. And y'all really don't want to fuck with Friendo. This was such a fun slasher movie, which was perfect because the book felt exactly the same tonal-wise. And it harkens back to the good old slashers of the 80s and 90s. And a major reason for that is Friendo himself. This clown is iconic, he's awesome looking, and terrifying as hell. And the best part is, it's palatably scary for most audiences going to see it. Take your friends and family and just have a good time watching a killer clown run through a cornfield hacking up the teenagers. It's got its own unique twists and turns, and I absolutely love Frendo's just fit and vibe. Also, I need one of these Jack in the Boxes, or Friendo in a Boxes. I need it. Clown in a Cornfield opens this weekend in theaters, and please do not miss this excellent slasher that is fun for frickin' everybody.
This disturbing image may not look real, but it very much is. This is a picture of Rhoda Derry, and I'm going to tell you her sad and tragic story. Rhoda Derry was born on October 10, 1834 in Adams County, Illinois. She lived a pretty normal life in a well-to-do farming family. Like any other teenage girl, when she was 16, she fell in love and began a romantic relationship with a boy who happened to live on the farm next door. The boy's parents weren't fond of their relationship, and it really went south when they found out their plans to marry a couple years later. They believed that Rhoda may be involved in witchcraft, a tale that dated back to her grandmother, Mary Derry of Pennsylvania. The story surrounding her grandmother frightened Rhoda, and matters were only made worse when the boy's mother came to her and told her to stay away, and if not, she would curse her. This is when things went south for Rhoda. She had a severe mental breakdown and eventually grew to believe that an evil spirit called Old Scratch was haunting her. She was hospitalized, but was deemed incurable, so she was returned back home to her parents. Her parents tried to care for her, but it became too much, so she was sent to Adams County Almshouse when she was 25 years old on September 3, 1860. The almshouse was known for treating patients inhumanely, and for 4 decades Rhoda was subjected to horrific conditions. A report from the General Assembly in 1881 indicated that Rhoda spent most of her time naked inside of a wooden box filled with straw. Her excrement filled the box and mice built nests around her. Rhoda sat in the box in a crouched position with her knees up to her chin. Because she sat in this position for so long, she eventually lost movement in her legs. She was constantly moving as well, so she had bruises all over her body. She even punched her face and knocked out her teeth, as well as gouged out her eyes. To make matters even worse, Rhoda could not speak. In 1904, she was sent to Bartonville Asylum. She was bathed daily and slept in a bed for the first time in decades. On October 9, 1906, the day before her 72nd birthday, she passed away. Rest in peace, Rhoda Derry.
This new UK ban is gonna ruin a lot of kids' lives. Sorry guys, if you're still in school or your kids are still in school, then I feel bad for you. Probably know there's been the whole talk about social media bans and stuff for years. Of course, Australia started implementing it last year. More recently, there's been a lot of these petitions popping up in the UK saying social media should be banned under 16, and it's got a lot of signatures. Now it's being called for a bit more officially though, with the government looking into it, police chiefs, and well, here's the latest. Looks like very soon there are going to be time limits and bans coming into place, so yeah kids, I'm sorry. First of all, kids who are under 16, they're not going to be banning it completely, but there are going to be time limits. So you're only going to be allowed to use 2 hours on social media every single day. And after 10 PM at night, you won't be able to go on any of it whatsoever. As people have been saying, this raises a lot of concerns because, well, some kids use things like WhatsApp to communicate with family and that, which counts as social media. Of course, there's also a lot of people who think this is a very good thing and kids need to have less time on their phone and social media. I'm also not sure how they're going to get around certain things though to make this fully official, because everybody would just use a VPN or pretend they're a different age. But let me know your thoughts if this is a good or a bad thing, and as always, I'll keep you updated.
Disturbing discovery tonight where investigators say a remote cave contains what may be the largest collection of crime scene evidence in state history.
Illinois' darkest secret just crawled out of the shadows. A cave packed with over 3,000 blood-soaked shoes, apparently spanning 300 years of disappearances.
We're seeing blood patterns consistent with violent trauma. The preservation conditions in the cave have kept some samples remarkably intact.
And the nightmare's just beginning. What began as a hiker's social media post has become a massive forensic investigation. On June 12th, a local college student exploring off-trail discovered the cave containing footwear ranging from 18th century moccasins to modern athletic shoes, nearly all with traces of blood.
The amount of shoes inside that cave is still unknown, but what I find most strange is why haven't we found these bloody shoes until now?
Forensic analysis has already matched DNA from several shoes to missing persons cases. The oldest confirmed match dates to 1792, a frontiersman who disappeared while surveying the area.
This isn't just a crime scene, Tide. It's a timeline of disappearances stretching from pioneer days to the digital age. The consistency is what's truly terrifying.
Hollow Vale Cave has become more than just a crime scene. It's a time capsule of tragedy, holding secrets from America's frontier past to the digital age. For investigators, the work is just beginning. For families of the missing, this discovery could mean answers centuries in the making. As hashtag Bloody Shoes continues to trend, let us know what you think in the comments below.
This is a true horrifying story, part 82. This story took place in Cardiff, the capital of Wales. The story happened to a Muslim brother. It happened this month, and I urge everyone watching this to keep this brother in your prayers and your du'as. He also requested that we don't use his real name, so I'll give him a false name for the sake of this story and call him Ahmed. Ahmed is 20 years old. He is a second-year college student and he works part-time as a delivery driver. He had an order to deliver in an area called Pentrabane. It's an old village with nothing on the way there, just bushes and trees right and left. Now, Ahmed has bladder issues. Ever since he was young, every time he needed to use the toilet, he wasn't able to hold it for too long. On his way to Pentrabane, he had to use the toilet urgently, and there was nothing on the way there, so he stopped his vehicle, went inside the bushes, and peed on one of the bushes. After he was done, he hopped back on his vehicle and proceeded towards the delivery point. On that same night, Ahmed went to bed, and while he was sleeping, he was awakened by a feeling of someone suffocating him. He was paralyzed, but his eyes were wide open. He saw a dark, slender-like figure that wrapped his hands around Ahmed's neck. He would get attacked every single night by this demon. He would also dream of the same demon haunting his little siblings. This demon was very upset with Ahmed. Some of you may not know why this is happening. Jinns come in various forms, powers, types, and sizes. Some live in caves, some in the ocean, and some in bushes. When you sabotage their homes, they will do everything they can to hurt you. When you burn a bush or spill hot water on a bush or even pee in a bush, they will try to kill you. I will leave this to our brother Mu'min Abu Mecca to teach you what you must do to prevent being stuck in a situation like this.